The following uses analogies to encourage those who fall behind not to belittle themselves or give up, thus losing the good opportunity to cultivate bodhicitta. It is like planting a tree. Over time, shallow roots grow deeper, or like sharpening a knife. The more you grind a blunt blade, the sharper it becomes. It is also like dripping water. Over time, it can wear away a stone. How can we give up planting a tree just because its roots are shallow, letting it wither? How can we neglect to sharpen a knife just because it is blunt, leaving it unused? We should not give up planting a tree simply because its roots are shallow, letting it die. Nor should we neglect to sharpen a knife because it is blunt, leaving it unused. Those with shallow spiritual roots should practice even more diligently. A precious human quality is the aspiration to improve. Once bodhicitta arises, transformation begins. We should aim to benefit not only ourselves, but all sentient beings. Without even this aspiration to improve, one becomes perpetually inferior and hopeless. In fact, once this thought arises, transformation begins, from blunt to sharp, from shallow to deep. Over time, the effects will become more and more evident. As the ancients said, diligence can make up for a lack of talent. What others accomplish, we can achieve with tenfold effort. No matter what we do, we should devote dedication, time, and concentration. In this way, nothing is impossible to accomplish. Even the clumsiest person will gradually master it. If we see practice as painful, it is because we don't know that laziness brings even greater suffering. Practice may be hard for a while, but it leads to eternal peace. Laziness may bring ease for a lifetime, but it results in suffering over many lifetimes. If we consider spiritual practice arduous, we fail to recognize how much greater suffering laziness brings. Through temporary diligence and practice, we attain everlasting peace. But if we slack off, even though we enjoy comfort for a lifetime, we will face suffering for countless lifetimes. When we recognize what is of vital importance, we let go of temporary pleasures for the ultimate, long-term benefit of both ourselves and others. Attachment to sensory pleasures is a habitual tendency. When we crave them, we cannot help but pursue them. Once we abstain from them, they no longer seem pleasant. If we only chase immediate gratification without considering future lives, liberation, or Buddhahood, the great perils of samsara and the lower realms will soon befall us. We must clearly understand the suffering of change. You may perceive it as happiness now, but once you abstain from it, you will realize it is not happiness at all. It is suffering. So, we should not mistake suffering for happiness. In reality, the feeling of happiness arises when suffering is relieved. We then cling to this relief from suffering, mistaking it for happiness. When the 5 desires arise, we try to dispel the discomfort they bring, giving rise to what we call happiness. But is it truly happiness? At such times, we must examine it carefully. We experience it every day. When the suffering of change arises, we should not respond with habitual clinging. Ordinary beings, when experiencing what they perceive as happiness, tend to grasp at it immediately, becoming immersed in the pleasure, feeling joyful and comfortable. In the face of the suffering of change, those without spiritual training generate attachment almost instantly, reinforcing their habitual tendencies of desire. As practitioners, we still need to relieve suffering, and in doing so, the suffering of change arises. When it arises, we should immediately recognize it as suffering. We can experience this. Maintain an objective, equanimous mind and do not be caught by the suffering of change. Free your mind and watch this sensation objectively and impartially. You will see that this feeling is actually suffering. It is merely the temporary alleviation of suffering. You will perceive that suffering is still present, gradually diminishing. Then you will no longer cling to it. What is there to cling to in the reduction of suffering? It is like treating an illness. When the pain lessens, we feel a sense of relief, a kind of pleasure. Usually, our sensory desires are not as uncomfortable as when we are severely ill. During serious illness, the suffering of suffering emerges, and we feel extremely painful. Sensory desires belong to afflictions, but they are not the suffering of suffering. Afflictions inherently contain the suffering of suffering. Without the suffering of suffering, afflictions would not arise. Without afflictions, the suffering of suffering and the suffering of change would not grow. They reinforce each other. Afflictions amplify the three types of suffering, and the three types of suffering in turn intensify afflictions. We should often reflect, by enduring a temporary hardship in practice, we can eradicate immense suffering over countless kalpas and attain eternal peace of nirvana. Therefore, we should practice diligently. Worldly people can endure hardships for the 5 desires. How much more should we, who have vowed to attain Buddhahood and liberate sentient beings, practice with unremitting diligence day and night? The ornament of the Mahayana Sutras states, having shouldered the responsibility of liberating beings, sloth is disgraceful and inappropriate. To free ourselves and others from bondage, we should practice with 100-fold diligence. Having generated bodhicitta and taken up the responsibility of benefiting beings, we should remain true to our commitment, practice the 6 perfections, and engage in the myriad activities to attain unsurpassed enlightenment. If we make vows but then become lazy instead of diligent in practice, it is very inappropriate. Even Shravaka practitioners who strive to eliminate their own karma and afflictions know they must be as relentless as drilling wood to make fire. How much more should Bodhisattvas, who have vowed to eradicate all karma and afflictions for themselves and others, practice with 100 times more diligence than Shravakas? With the Pure Land as our ferry boat, why fear regression? With the patience for non-arising, why worry about difficulties? With the Pure Land as our ferry boat, upon rebirth there, we become irreversible bodhisattvas. Non-regression in stage ensures we do not fall into samsara. Non-regression in practice ensures we do not fall into the Hinayana. Non-regression in mindfulness ensures that every thought flows into the ocean of omniscience. Hence, there is no danger of regression. Moreover, upon rebirth in the Western Pure Land, we will attain the patient acceptance of non-arising. Thus, we can manifest emanation bodies throughout worlds as numerous as particles to liberate sentient beings freely. Hence, there is no need to worry about the difficulties of saving beings. As you progress, it becomes easier. As your afflictions diminish, the 5 desires weaken and fade, leading to inner purity and freedom. Those with strong sensory desires suffer intensely. Without the skillful means of the Pure Land, those of medium or inferior capacity might regress after arousing bodhicitta or find themselves incapable of liberating beings. As a result, they hesitate in generating bodhicitta. Now we have both the easy path of the Pure Land and the guarantee of Amitabha's great vows. Upon rebirth in the Western Pure Land, we can perfect our bodhicitta. So, there is no need to worry. We should know that even sinners in hell had generated the body-mind in past lives. How could we, as humans and disciples of the Buddha, not make this great vow in this life? Consider this. Even sinners in hell may have generated bodhicitta in past kalpas. As the Buddha's human disciples, how can we not make this supreme body vow in this very life? Even some sinners in hell had generated bodhicitta in previous kalpas. We are fortunate to be born as humans, the most intelligent among all living beings. Moreover, having taken refuge in the 3 jewels, we have become noble disciples of the Buddha. How can we not set great aspirations? Even hell beings, bound by heavy karmic obstacles, can generate bodhicitta. Since we possess both internal and external favourable conditions, why not cultivate bodhicitta? The way of the Bodhisattva states, this human life, endowed with freedoms and advantages, is exceedingly rare. Now that we have attained it, we can accomplish the ultimate benefit. If we do not dedicate ourselves to this crucial endeavour now, how can we obtain such an excellent chance again? Only by generating bodhicitta in this very life can we make full use of this human rebirth. Once bodhicitta arises, you will become diligent, filled with vigour. This is due to the blessings of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who are omnipresent and dwell in our minds. Only after generating bodhicitta do we truly become empowered. If you have aroused bodhicitta, when I explain the dharma to you, I am bestowing empowerment upon you. If you possess the seed of bodhicitta, having generated even a slight trace of bodhicitta, then the teacher is bestowing empowerment upon you during Dharma teachings. Only at this stage are you qualified to receive empowerment. It is like a crown prince who, upon coming of age, receives empowerment before ascending the throne. When he is too young, he is not eligible to receive it. That's why we must first cultivate bodhicitta. If you have cultivated it to a certain degree, when the teacher bestows the empowerment of bodhicitta, you will receive it. Thus, you will transform and your strength will grow. If we never lose bodhicitta, all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas will constantly abide in our mind, blessing us. Imagine the magnitude of this energy. The energy of every Buddha and Bodhisattva with whom we have a karmic connection will link to us. It is like a computer that, once connected to the internet, joins the network of all computers and can access all their information. If your signal is weak, you will struggle to connect. This is your own problem, either because your connection is unstable or the signal is too faint. That is, your determination is not strong enough. With a firm resolve, like a strong signal, the vows of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas will reside in your mind. At that point, no matter what you do, you are benefiting sentient beings, even while eating or sleeping. With bodhicitta, your merit grows even during sleep. It is in vain to regret our beginningless ignorance, but if we awake now, it is not too late. While those still lost in ignorance are pitiable, those who know the truth but do not practice are even more pathetic. From beginningless time, we have been ignorant and going against the path, wasting countless lifetimes in vain. Time cannot flow backward, so let the past pass. The future is infinitely long. If we awaken now, we can still create a bright future. While those lost in delusion are pitiable, those who understand the truth yet fail to practice are even more pathetic. Since we already know the truth, why hesitate? What other bright path exists in human life besides this one? Take your time to reflect on this teaching. Apart from this bright path, is there any other bright path in life? No. Only by generating bodhicitta can we fulfill the purpose of our life and bring boundless benefit to both ourselves and others. So, why not wake up? When presented with a royal feast while starving, would you rather die of hunger than eat? How unfortunate and pitiful it would be to starve amid an emperor's banquet. If we fear the suffering of hell, diligence will naturally arise. If we are mindful of the swiftness of impermanence, we will not be lazy. If we fear the suffering of hell, we will naturally become diligent. If we reflect on how swiftly impermanence strikes, we will not slack off. Some people haven't seen the suffering of hell. If you saw the suffering there, you would be too terrified to sleep and would seize the time to practice diligently. although we witness the swiftness of impermanence every day, we fail to relate it to ourselves, thinking we still have a long time to live. But this is uncertain. No one knows. You may know Hongxian, a former resident of our monastery. This is a pitiable case. We saved his life twice, yet he remained lazy. His karma was heavy. He did not realize how swiftly impermanence strikes, or how few days he had left to live. If he had known he had only a few days left, I believe he would have been diligent. Moreover, he later became confused. What a pity! If he had diligently chanted the Buddha's name, he would not have ended up like that. Even if his lifespan was short, at the time of death, he would have maintained clear mindfulness and beheld Amitabha. He was pitiable. He had already learned and understood the Dharma. As a Peking University graduate, how could he not understand? He could explain the teachings, but did not practice earnestly. Bound by karmic obstacles, he had the urge to keep working, unable and unwilling to sit and practice diligently. He always felt as though impermanence had nothing to do with him, believing he still had 8 or 10 years or even longer left to live. He never imagined he would pass away in just 1 or 2 years. Reflect on your own impermanence. You will find no time to ponder useless matters. Will you still have time to think about secular things at night? You will devote yourself to listening to the Dharma, cultivating bodhicitta, repenting, and reciting the Buddha's name. Consider how much negative karma we have committed since beginningless time. Once our breath stops, we may become ashes in the fires of hell. While we can still breathe, we should practice diligently. This is the only way to save ourselves. The Pure Land lies ahead. Hell lurks behind. If we practice diligently, we will be reborn in the Pure Land, ending countless kalpas of cyclic existence. If we slack off, we will fall into hell, suffering for eons without a chance to escape. Reflect constantly on the swiftness of impermanence. A lifetime vanishes in an instant. Having obtained such a precious human life, how can we waste it in vain? Upon pondering this, we must seize every moment to practice. We should practice with this awareness and never slack off. That's why I often emphasize our lack of time. Beyond studying and contemplating the Dharma, we can only afford to spend time cooking. As monastics today, we no longer go on alms rounds. So, at most, we may spend some time preparing meals. Some Dharma centres have lay helpers. Without such help, we cook for ourselves. That's it. How can we have time for meaningless activities? Some monastics end up running temples, caught in endless affairs. I wonder, is this renunciation or what? They have reduced monastic life to temple administration. I don't know what they are doing all day. They neither study nor meditate on the Dharma, occupied solely with mundane chores. How can they make spiritual progress? Even impermanence requires daily meditation. Once this mindfulness fades, laziness and afflictions arise. Many individuals haven't even developed an awareness of impermanence. This is the situation of many monastics today. They don't listen to the Dharma. Though they may understand impermanence, they don't meditate on it. Without such meditation, they won't practice diligently. While chanting rebirth rituals for others, they are thinking about how to make more money for worldly life. They perform Buddhist rites for others while feeling nothing themselves. This is what happens when one neglects the study of the Dharma. Rely on the Dharma as our motivator and spiritual friends as companions. Never part from them throughout our lives, even in haste. Thus, there will be no danger of regression. Let the Dharma inspire you, and rely on spiritual friends for mutual support and encouragement as you progress together. This is what I often emphasize. Rely on qualified spiritual teachers and like-minded practitioners. If we remain close to the Dharma and spiritual friends throughout our lives, we will not fall back. So, please, never leave our community. As spiritual friends, we support, remind, and encourage each other. This is crucial, for everyone may sometimes slack off or face karmic obstacles. By helping one another, we can progress together. That's why the harmony within the Sangha is essential. Without harmony, how can we support each other?